here with Jason Martins, head brewer at Mickey Finn's, and Ryan, the main man at Perfect Brewing Supply, of course, right. We are announcing the winners of our second annual Wort Rally with Mickey Finn's, sponsored Country Malt. They helped us out a ton on this one. And they have been judging the beers of people that have dropped them off. We had a total of 56 entrants. We raised close to $5,000, which is amazing, with one big contribution coming from one of our participants, Mr. Scott. We'll leave it at that. And if he feels like announcing himself, we will let him do that. We also had some other people that donated prizes and things. So Omega, Mickey Finn's, Perfect Brewing Supply, BSG. Yep. I'm sorry. Thank you so much. This is a fun event because this is for 100% of the proceeds go to the Northern Illinois Food Bank. Every dollar that we are able to raise turns into $8 worth of food. And especially during these times, it becomes even more important to do things like this. I am just tickled that we had so many people that participated, that it was just a great event that we look forward to doing every year. And I hope we can continue to do this every year. With 56 people, I think we not quite doubled what we did last year, but we came pretty darn close and almost emptied the fermenter. I think we almost did empty the fermenter, right, Jason? Okay.
Yeah.
And cool. And that's awesome. I'm just tickled that we were able to do that. This participation was great. Everyone that signed up was great. It was kind of, Jason made the wort. So he made his suburban wheat, and then everyone was able to take that home and add whatever yeast they wanted to. And that's kind of part of the competition. So it's kind of an event where you pledge $50 a bucket for 5 gallons of wort, and you get beer out of it. So you're donating to a good cause, and you get 48 beers out of this, which is fantastic. So it's a fun event that we like to do. During the stream, if anyone does have any questions, feel free to ask. If not, send us an email or something later if you see this after the fact. But yeah, without further ado, did I miss anything, guys?
I think you covered the basics.
Okay. This is also our first attempt at doing this at 2 remote places to announce. So there may be a little technical, I don't know, awkwardness, we'll say. But anyway, yeah. I'll turn it over to you guys to talk about the beers and things like that. And I guess another big shout out. Thank you to Mickey Finn's for doing this. They basically did all the work, and we just signed up. And Jason, awesome job. Thank you so very much.
Yeah. Thanks, Andy. I appreciate it. And I was going to start with a big thank you to you, because you handle all the logistics of coordinating this. And, you're the one who brought it to my plate, after I took over as head brewer here at Finn's. And, I remember when you first mentioned it, it definitely sounded like a no-brainer and a win-win for everybody involved. I love how, as a local brewer who started as a home brewer, buying ingredients at your shop years ago, being able to interact with the homebrew community, and then, create this fun little competition from it. And really it was, it's a work day for me of a brew day, but, all the ingredients are donated from Country Malt, which is, big shout out to them, and Greg Burke, our sales rep with Country Malt. That's huge, that they're able to do that for the donation for ingredients. And, we just donate some labor and time, and obviously you do all the back end when it comes to the infrastructure and, taking payment and advertising, signing up the homebrewers and stuff. So no, I feel like we have a good setup for the future here for a good annual event that really has ended up being a lot of fun. Like I said, interacting with the homebrew community, which is where I started as a brewer, and getting to know new faces, and getting people, obviously coming in to, pick up at Finn's. Shout out to everybody who picked up. I think we had just over a foot of snow this year.
Yeah, that was that's true.
It's always going to be in January. I think we decided that January is a good time for us to do it after the holidays, because by the time we get that donation check to them, it's kind of a slower time of year for for their donations. But so yeah, weather might always be a variable in the future, but no, everybody turned out to grab their wort, and it ended up being a really fun event as always.
Yeah.
So
And maybe next year we could have the party that we talked about, because I think last year when we did this is right when COVID kind of hit as well. So we have 2 years of planning for a party for this. So that could be awesome.
yeah, that's and we could certainly do a live stream for it, for
Yeah.
those that aren't able to attend in person. But yeah, that's the goal. Is we're here in our amber room in Finns. You see the brewery behind me there, up through the windows, and the next level up. But this is our banquet space in here, and it's a great spot for events. And yeah, the goal is to be able to get everyone in person to kind of unveil the winners of the competition, or anybody, even if they don't enter the competition. Anyone who participated in purchasing a share will be invited to the awards ceremony, as we'll call it. But yeah, looking forward to doing that in person. Hopefully next year we'll definitely be able to do that, and I think that'll be a lot of fun too, because then we can really just opens up more dialogue with everybody involved. And I mean, me, I love to sit around and talk about beer. So
Yeah, we'll just have to get you a bigger fermenter next year.
yeah, so very excited for that. So I'm gonna again. So yeah, thanks for you. Everything you do for this, Andy, you and Ryan at Perfect. We love to support and be able to kind of be the host brewery for this event. So I'm gonna let Ryan kind of start launching into the winners here, and we can kind of discuss as we go
Absolutely.
through that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. It's definitely a team effort. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we'll start with third and go third, second, first, and then we'll do the most interesting, I think, at the end. So first of all, yeah, the prizes are all donated from BSG, Country Malt, and Omega Yeast. So thanks to all those guys for sending us free stuff to just hand out to people that made some great beers. We had 16 beers entered in this competition. They were all very good. So it was tough to kind of come down to the top first, second, third, and then most interesting. People got a little experimental, I think, with this. There's 3 or 4 weird sounding beers, but they all kind of came through nicely. Great beers all across the board, but we picked out 3 that we really thought shined and had no flaws and were packaged properly. So without further ado, third place Dave Tomey with his Belgian style wit beer. It was very creamy texture probably from the wheat in the recipe for the 847. Very drinkable, packaged well, had a nice creamy foam on it. Delicious. Great wit beer, I thought.
Yeah, the flavor was well balanced. I guess jumping back, in my introduction, I probably should have quickly rattled off the grist, or at least the grain bill. So again, for the second year in a row, we chose our wheat ale, which is it's basically 45% two row, 45% white malted wheat, and then right around 10% of Carahel, Wareham Carahel. So again, I think we've subbed in a Best Malls sub in there using their Cara Red as well, which also, so it's pretty straightforward, wheat beer grist that you can, take many different directions, and I think we saw that, with this. I don't know if I remember a wit beer last year, but yeah, the wit beer was solid. Flavor was really balanced. Wasn't overboard on the orange or the coriander, like some, I think sometimes people get a little too heavy-handed with that. But yeah, it was a great example of a wit beer, and it shows how something simple, like just a choice in yeast can, take that and make a well-brewed example.
Yeah. So for third place, Dave Tomey is going to get a mixed bag of hops, some Pacific Crest, some Green Bullet hops, and then a couple of specialty bags of malt from BSG, as well as a pack of Mangrove Jack dry yeast, and also a $10 gift card to Mickey Finn's here. So feel free to come by and collect those prizes at any time. At any time, Dave, you come by quite often, so I'm sure we'll see you get those prizes. And then for second place, we had another traditional style beer of a Hefeweizen, which was brewed by Jim Hall, another Nubs member. So congrats, Jim Hall. Great Hefeweizen. It was a tough decision between second and third for these two beers. We had to kind of sit and taste them both side by side.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was rough.
Twist my arm.
But Jim's just had a little bit more character to it. It was a little bit like a perfect balance of that clove and banana. Maybe leaning a little more towards banana, but great traditional Hefeweizen.
Yeah, very well balanced between the esters and the the phenols and that heavy kind of character, which I think the best heavy examples are always kind of have strike that perfect balance. So yeah, whatever you did, Jim, good solid fermentation practices and packaging, and yeah, turned out a really solid beer.
So yeah, for second place, you get similar prizes as a mixed bag of hops, thanks to BSG and Country Malt. A couple of specialty grain bags, another pack of Mangrove Jack's Dry Yeast, and gift cards for $20 to Mickey Finn's and Perfect Brewing Supply.
Nice.
Congrats, Jim. I'm sure we'll see
Nice.
you soon.
And just as a side note, I am drinking last year's version. I did a Saison Brett that I've had a keg. So there you go. There's my 2 cents. Just in the spirit of the wort rally, I'm drinking my last year's impression or whatnot. But anyway, it's still drinkable. How about that?
Yeah. Okay, so now first place. Do you want to do your drum roll thing again, Andy? First place goes to Bill Carlton and Matt Drakel, kind of a combo.
Nice.
A couple of guys that brew together. They both bought their own portion. They both entered their own beers, and this was kind of I don't want to say overwhelming favorite, but we kind of knew when we smelled and tasted it that it was just an awesome beer. Scored really well according to BJCP style guidelines and score sheet. It's a Centennial dry hopped wheat beer. So I'm kind of assuming he put some details here. It's just American ale yeast he fermented it with and dry hopped it what seems kind of delicately with Centennial. So it just had this nice lemony floral nuance to like a basic wheat beer that we thought just was a perfect complement to a simple recipe.
Yeah, it created a really good beer. I think the keys there are a really solid fermentation. The American ale yeast. Clearly, if you handle American ale yeast well, it can be super clean. If you run too hot, you can get some esters that come out that might not put it out of contention. But and then the reasonable dry hopping. Whatever you went with, whatever dosing rate. There's no excessive bitterness or vegetal character from someone throwing in way too many hops in there or leaving it sit on your dry hopping too long. It picked up a really nice, pleasant Centennial hop character, which we might be biased. I mean, me and Ryan are both big Centennial hop fans, so when we were judging these, there might be a little bias there when that Centennial flavor comes through really nice. But yeah, just created a really, really solid, what I would consider an American pale ale with wheat. So again, very, very sound brewing practices, on the back end through the fermentation. It's a pretty neutral grain bill that allows people to do a lot of different stuff with, which I think we've liked these first couple of years. But yeah, very solid example. So kudos, Bill. Cheers to you. You did a great job.
Congratulations. Yes.
Keep it up. Ryan will tell you what you won.
Yeah, your prize as first place in the 2021 Mickey Finn's Perfect Brewing Wort Rally competition is a sack of Pils and Malt from Canada Malting, thanks to Country Malt. You're getting some Citra hops, some Cascade hops, 8 ounces of each. A couple packs of Omega yeast. Their newer strains, the Bonanza and the Sundew, really fun new strains they've come up with. And then $40 gift cards from Mickey Finn's and Perfect Brewing Supply. So you'll be stocked on base malt and have enough hops to make maybe one batch of hazy IPA with a pound of Citra and Cascade. Altogether,
Nice.
some fun yeast to experiment with and gift cards to get you some more supplies.
Coming in at beers and dinner after a long brew day on the weekend.
Yeah, so
Absolutely.
feel free to come grab those from us anytime. They're just waiting for you to come by and pick up.
Nice. And I guess we should say that all these beers that were entered were judged using BJCP guidelines and BJCP score sheets, which people can pick up after this is all done. So yeah.
Yeah, so we have the score sheets here. Please come by and pick them up as soon as you have a moment to. There's some critical feedback on all your beers.
Yeah, we try to, when we're judging these beers, just as, Ryan not only, runs the brew shop, at Perfect, alongside Andy, but he's also a very, talented brewer and works out at Brewing Table in Lake Zurich too. So what we try to do when we're judging these, just kind of, as professionals, we're really just like, what feedback could we give that would make like, and I'll say this right now before we're going to go into the most interesting. We got one more category here to announce, but I will say that the coolest part about this, I've done a lot of judging in the past, and the coolest thing about this event is that pretty much every example is still a good beer. I mean, there might be, I would say maybe there's some small, occasional issues with, carbonation or maybe oxidation and, packaging. But outside of that, I mean, I don't think we tried one beer that had like major discernible off flavors. So that's the very cool thing, is that I can tell everybody who's entering in this, and I think a lot of the people who are doing the event in whole are pretty serious homebrewers that, know what they're doing. And you can see that when you try this many examples and you really can't find, those the top percentage, you're really struggling to actually figure out who's going to be, 1, 2, and 3, because they're all that solid examples of beer. So yeah, hats off to everybody who entered in, because I don't think we really tried a beer that we considered would be a bad beer.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, the most common issue we had that we had dinged people on was carbonation. So maybe that's something to consider when packaging beers for competition, is carbonation. Make sure it's at a proper level, because we had some flat ones.
Yeah, and I mean, there were plenty we tried too that, the flavor was great, but, the beer just wasn't properly carbonated, and with beer and, many styles, it's, you need that carbonation to really allow the flavors to really, truly pop. Because I know there were a couple we tried that we definitely said, this beer would definitely be many points higher if it did have proper carbonation. So
yeah.
So most interesting.
Most interesting was a kind of a tough decision. There was some experiments going on with this wort, which is always fun to see what people come up with. Our favorite, though, of the weird beers was one from Mike Thompson, who brewed a lager using sage, coriander, and whole leaf Chinook and Centennial hops. I'm guessing from his yard, homegrown Chinook and Centennial hops.
Very cool.
One, because he was very meticulous with his notes on the paper he taped to the bottle, his fermentation schedule, how he used and how much he used of the adjuncts and stuff like that, and it just came through as like a really delicately spiced and hopped, super clean lager.
Yeah, very clean fermentation. The sage was there as a background player with the hops, as well as the coriander. The coriander brought some fruitiness. The sage brought that kind of earthiness, and I remember when we started tasting it, you're like, what is that in there? And then, when we finally did read the description, you're like, okay, yeah, I do. I pick up that sage in the background. And no, it played well together. I mean, on paper, you'd read that and you'd say, well, that could go either, really good or really bad. And it went really good. It was a very solid beer. Really interesting, unique flavor in there. So from that lager yeast, and then the choices in dry hopping, and then the other adjuncts that went in there. So very well done. Very, very unique kind of interesting wheat lager. Yeah, it worked though.
Well executed, subtle flavor additions, I guess you could say. So yeah, well done, Mike Thompson. So for most interesting, you're gonna get a couple packs of Omega yeast, another pack of dry yeast from Mangrove Jacks, and a T-shirt of your choice. We have a little box full of T-shirts at the shop. Come by and pick out one or two of those. Fermentus T-shirts, Omega T-shirts, GABF T-shirts. Got a lot of T-shirts.
Cool.
So,
Are they all mediums? Yeah. No, I'm just kidding.
That was the winners. Again, thanks for everybody that entered. Hopefully every year the entries, the number of entries will get grow and grow. It's fun. As the brewer of this beer, I have I have what my base beer is, which I'm always kind of maybe looking to slightly tweak in small ways and stuff. But it's interesting trying, taking that same base wort and then seeing what people do with that and what directions that they take. And I love that. I think when the first year we did this, I think I joked that whoever throws in 6 ounces of Galaxy or Mosaic hops as a dry hopping was going to be the winner, and we didn't see that to be the case. And I think we saw that kind of modeled again this year, where two of the top 3 were just a classic wit and a classic hoppy that were just fermented well and packaged well.
That's awesome.
Last year we saw the same thing with a Heffy coming in the number 1 spot. So I actually love that I as somebody who brews newer fruity milkshake IPAs alongside classic styles. I love it when we do blind round of tasting and the classic styles win out. I think it gives me hope for beer still.
Yeah.
So again, hats off to everybody who entered, because hopefully we can just keep growing that number, and it's a lot of fun to try. And
I think for the next one, we're thinking about doing a different wort.
Yep.
Maybe a dark wort, a brown ale, or a stout or porter of some sort, just to mix it up a little bit, because there's lots of other fun flavors that can go into that type of wort.
Yep.
That could maybe switch things up and make it a little bit of a different ball game next.
Yes.
Really.
Yes, totally. So next year we're gonna talk, me and Ryan and Andy, and we'll figure out a new grain bill. It might not be an existing Finn's beer. It'll probably just be a new base wort that we create. But after this year's event, I know we were talking, and the 3 of us definitely thought something like a brown ale would be fun, because you can still, even though there's so much you can do with the darker wort like that. I mean, you can throw Belgian or Saison yeast in there and make a great Belgian double. You could use German ale yeast to make a great alt beer. You could do a hoppy American brown, or you can take it the new school direction and throw in pecan extract with caramel or whatever. You could get funky with it too.
You've taken everyone's secrets away, Jason.
Just throwing out ideas.
Yeah.
But no, I think that'll be fun. And then every year going forward, we'll create a base wort that might not be just the blank canvas, or maybe it will be. I mean, maybe next year, or maybe one of the years will end up being just a basic base Pilsner wort, or something like that. So I don't know. We're gonna have fun with it. We like the ideas moving forward, that we can kind of every year grow with this, and hopefully it gets a lot of return attendees. I know we had a lot of people this year that did attend last year. Love seeing that. Love seeing people return to this event. means they had fun, and you know, that's we're doing it to have fun, and also obviously donate to a great cause. So
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
And if anyone has any feedback of things they like to see or not see, or questions or things like that, we always love hearing feedback from people that participated to see, so we can continue to make this a great event and things like that. But I mean, everything seemed to be smooth, so I loved it that way. But yeah, it's fun. And again, Jason, thank you for. I mean, you do most of the grunt work, so.
Yeah.
You do Mickey fins and stuff like that. So yes, yeah. Thank you. You give him a good old attaboy on the back there.
Well,
Yeah.
I'd say anytime you can go in and do a work day on a Sunday and
Yeah,
raise that much money for charity,
I was blown away.
it makes
I was
me
blown away.
yeah, it doesn't really feel like a day at work when you know that you're able to, you know, get that big of a contribution
Nice.
for a nice local charity that is really able to do a ton with the monies that they receive. So,
Yep.
Yeah, that's all I need.
It's nice that way.
Yep. So, do we have any questions in the chat come through from any
I have not seen any questions. No. A lot of people just congratulating other people. With this split screen thing, I've lost some of the chats that we've been having, but I've been following it on Facebook as well. But I think unless you guys have anything else to add, I think we can wrap this up and
Covered everything. Yeah.
Yeah,
cool.
Thanks again to everyone who attended. Congrats to all the winners. You know, again, there really wasn't a bad beer that got entered in the competition. So I really think that speaks volumes of the quality brewers that are participating in this, which I love to see. I mean, I would love this to be, you know, become a fiercely competitive event going forward that people take very seriously. So no, but yeah, everyone did a great job. And congrats to all the winners.
Leah asked a question. The score sheets will be at Perfect Brewing Supply starting tomorrow when we open at 11 a.m. So
yep, you can pop on in for sure. So again, thanks again to Fins. Thanks again to Omega. Thanks again to Country Malt. Thanks again to BSG. And thanks to everyone that participated and is tuning into this. This is fantastic. I mean, as we've said before, this is a very nice warming thing to be able to do this great fundraiser and make a lot of money for somebody else and then get beer out of it. I wish all fundraisers were like this. So it's kind of fun that way. But I guess without further ado, we will end this broadcast and look forward to talking to anyone later. And stay tuned for future events, either at Mickey Fins. You can check out their website or check out the Perfect Brewing website for things that we have going on. We'll talk soon. Guys, thank you so much.
Cheers.
Cheers. We'll talk soon.